Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, dwyervip.com. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. You know, in an earlier video, I made the point that Smoking Joe Frazier, right, one of history's better heavyweight champions, fought many of his biggest fights blind in one eye, by his own admission, right? But yet, he was able to pass the eye test administered by groups like the New York State Athletic Commission, right? This should really have you thinking about the thoroughness of the commission's vetting of fighters. Well, today I came across a previously published story, and let me be upfront here. This story, as far as I know, was first published by lawnews.com, an excellent site. It's LAWNEWZ.com. It was also published by boxing247.com, another excellent site. Right? And they're pointing out, and it's a bit of a shocker, that Tommy Morrison, who in the mid-90s was found to be HIV positive, had actually been diagnosed and was aware that he was HIV positive in 1989. But yet, apparently he was able to fool the Nevada State Athletic Commission, one of the United States' best, most thorough commissions, for several years. In fact, he had several big fights while he was HIV positive. Now, the evidence is simply jaw-dropping, right? To me, the evidence is actually overwhelming that this is the case. Let's go through the evidence. And I'm going to literally read the evidence from the Law News article, right? When Morrison went into rehab in 1999, the counselor doing his intake wrote that he claims that he was first told he was HIV positive in 1989. He hid this from nearly everyone until 1996, when it was discovered and made public. At that time, he was forced to stop his professional boxing career. He believes he got his HIV from injecting steroids. Let's talk about the further evidence. On August 20th, 1999, Morrison's psychiatrist wrote a letter to the boxer's attorney that said he has been HIV positive for 11 years and had not been receiving treatment for this. Right? Let's move to the next piece of evidence. When Morrison's ex-wife, Dawn Brady, was questioned for the lawsuit, there's a pending lawsuit, in a sworn deposition on April 21st, she stated that he had told her in 2000 that he tested positive for HIV in 1989, when he got checked out as part of the screening for a life insurance policy. It was almost like he was bragging about it in a way, according to her. Right? Brady added that Morrison's mother told her that he had come to her around 1994. This is 2 years before it was publicly revealed, and said he thought he might be HIV positive. Right? Later in the deposition, when asked if the rehab counselor's intake report and psychiatrist's letter were consistent with what Morrison told her circa 2000 to 2001, she answered yes. Right? Brady also recounts how during an ESPN interview, at their home. Morrison, here's the quote, was talking to the reporter there and kind of like bragging that he knew about it since '89. And he was kind of laughing about it. When that happened, she kept telling him to shut his mouth. And he just kept on. It was bad enough that she called Tommy's attorneys, who got on the phone and said, you know, you're opening yourself up to a lot of lawsuits by telling people that you knew in '89, you know, all the women you slept with. You could open yourself up to a lot of lawsuits. That snapped Morrison out of telling the reporter anymore. But he kept telling other people. Finally, there is this. When asked if it was fairly common that Morrison would tell people that he was diagnosed as HIV positive in 1989, Brady, his ex-wife, said that, I remember telling him, you know, that makes you sound like a monster. If you knew then in '89 and then you chose to go still sleep with all of these women and put them in at risk and not tell them and not use condoms. And he just kind of laughed it off. He never told her why he did it. Now think it through here, folks. Nevada, during this time period, had rules that required fighters to disclose whether or not they were HIV positive. Right? Nevada had rules that required fighters to produce medical records, right, to show that they weren't HIV positive. The quotes here talk about the women that Tommy Morrison might have been with, right? Understand, Tommy Morrison was in the ring with other professional fighters who thought they were being protected by the Boxing Commission, right? So what I want all of us to understand here is that regulation in boxing historically has been a hodgepodge, right? I'm just telling you from my own review of the work of state commissions that Nevada is actually one of the better commissions in the United States. Right? You have many commissions that don't have the level of regulation that Nevada has. Right? New York, the same outfit that allowed Joe Frazier to fight blind in one eye, right? Because the outfit didn't know he was blind in one eye. Think about that. Is one of the best boxing commissions in the United States. But yet, Joe Frazier, blind in one eye, was able to fight in New York, in Madison Square Garden, in arguably the biggest fight of the 20th century in boxing, right? Against an unbeaten Muhammad Ali, two guys with a legitimate claim of being heavyweight champion. And Tommy Morrison was able to fight in the state of Nevada. In fact, was able to fight for several years. Right? Didn't he beat George Foreman while he was HIV positive? Right? Gaming the system has gone on for years. You're kidding yourself if you think that the regulators are on top of their games. Right? Now, even the Nevada State Athletic Commission admits that they may have been hoodwinked. Who knows? Maybe Morrison was able to submit fake medical reports, fake blood tests to the commission. Right? We don't have to speculate over whether or not this could happen in boxing. We know now that it has happened in boxing. Right? So, just segueing slightly, I'm supposed to believe that these athletic commissions are on top of designer PED detection. that they can actually spot when a fighter is juicing in this day and age of designer drugs that leave the body in a matter of hours. You have got to be kidding me. As observers of the sport, we have to assume that the sport is run by human beings and that mistakes, including big mistakes, that allow a guy who's blind in one eye and that allow a guy who's HIV positive to fight in huge fights are going to happen in the sport time and time again. I encourage people to look up the articles, right? I understand it's been highlighted in Deadspin.com as well, right? For those of you who lived through the 1990s and who remember the Tommy Morrison situation and the big fights that he had, right? This is going to be eye-opening. That's how I see it. Let me hear from you. Hope you leave your comments in the comment section to this video. Thanks for stopping by.